noticed. Perfect. So is this Michelle?
Hi, yeah, this is Michelle. I am keeping camera off for now because I am tired, but yeah, wanted
Yeah,
to
no
join.
worries. Yeah, I super appreciate you joining. And I guess it's super early for you, so I really appreciate you showing up and starting the recording and handling stuff for us.
Yeah, it's only 8, it's fine. But yeah, good to see everyone.
Yes. So, perfect. Now we have recording. I will repeat briefly what I told just for recording. Uh, I thanks Matthias for poking me about the issue. And I think that the main agenda item I wanted to discuss today is how to make Prow better for contributors, like new ones and old ones, both, I guess. We have the issue with like where people are showing up trying to help out with Prow, and we don't really have a good answer for questions like what are the good first issues and what are the places that need contributions the most, and also how can someone set up development instances, stuff like that. So I set this up in a little bit of ad hoc fashion. And for now, I'll stop talking and see if someone else has thoughts about this. Like what could we do? What should we do?
Maybe I
Yeah.
can say something.
Yes.
Of course, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. And I have been, I have not been contributing on Prow for a while now. That's my bad. But I guess one area that needs a lot of restyling at least, and it's one of the most maybe underrated area of the entire Prow, is the UI and the UX that is turning quite old now. Maybe that's something we can address right now, that and the learning curve is not that scary, rather than touching the controller internals, Planck, or whatever, and try and with the risk of disrupting important workloads like the Kubernetes or OpenShift one. So one area that it's might be a good place open for first contribution would be deck and the UI in general. That's my gut feeling.
Just to add that, I think another area for improvement would be documentation because I started out recently, I just picked up an issue and then it's an issue about adding a plugin to the hook. Then I'm like, okay, let's see what is hook. Then I open hook and the documentation is blank at this point. So it would be really great like to have a proper documentation as well because I feel some of I've explored a bit and then I try to get my head around things. So probably some of it's outdated as well. So yeah, that's one area of improvement as a new contributor I felt could be taken into consideration.
All right, as a follow-up of this one, and documentation is definitely one place that needs to be improved by a lot. Maybe to ease the barrier for any newcomer, we could also think about something like how to set up Prow locally, because it will be an experience both for the contributor that will be pushed to learn how Prow works and how to set up Prow. And at the same time, as a nice side effect, any other bot being developer or just user will be able to set up an environment locally and start experimenting with Prow.
Yeah, this is my I think this would be the thing that like I personally would be like I think that this is where most value is, especially for new contributors. I think like when you want to start doing something, and you usually want to do something in a hook plugin, or maybe something in Tide, or maybe like somewhere. And like I think for most entry-level work, you don't really need like whole Prow, like all of the stuff up and running, which is like getting everything up and running, like including Prow jobs, including all the hook plugins, including Tide. That's a lot of work, and it's a lot of setup, and you need a lot of like integrations with external infrastructure, right? You need Google Storage for job results and artifacts, and you need GitHub applications to be able to authenticate against GitHub API, and you need like a million other things to have in place just for everything runs smoothly. But I think like most of the time, like if you are working on maybe something simpler like a hook plugin like that gets triggered and then does something on GitHub, you only need that. You only need hook, and you basically don't need anything else sometimes. And it's still a lot of work because you need something, like you usually need to talk to GitHub, which means Google GitHub app and something like that. But I think we are kind of missing this like entry level, like I don't know if it should be dev containers or if it should be Claude code commands that like help you set up something, like get something up and running or something like that. But I feel we are missing how to bring up a small piece just for development. And like, because I feel like we are throwing a huge amount of documentation. Prow is all this, set it up, and then you can work. But you don't need to, at least I don't think everyone needs to do that right from the start. It's a good, but maybe I'd also like to get back to documentation. Documentation is very tricky because like contributors need it, but I don't think like new contributors are especially well like with to contribute to it. Like it takes knowledge and expertise to write documentation. So it's a little bit of chicken and egg unless we have multiple experienced contributors contributing a lot of new documentation. It's hard to get people contribute to documentation, but I think like, yeah, it would need almost, I would say, revamping. Like the documentation site feels a little bit like collection of like everyone that someone wrote at some point in time, rather than like collection of like curated content.
Okay, Deep Mystery,
Yeah,
you have a raised hand.
Yeah, I just had a question and concern. It's been 2 or few years since I've contributed to Prow or anything upstream, and I'm trying to work on some stuff to get to myself into the community. Documentation looks like a really nice aspect because that helped me back then trying to go through the code and understand everything, every single bits. And since I've been going through a lot of in the past couple of months, I think I can create some kind of documentation um, for anyone here to review them and understand as a newcomer perspective. Let's say if I'm trying to work towards the community and I can create some documentation that helps any newcomer and that gets reviewed by some other newcomers would facilitate others to understand how or what are the flaws between the documentation or what improvements can be done overall perspective. But that's just an idea of going around different areas. Everyone might be aware of everything, but some people might be aware of a certain component or certain areas, and they can start with the smaller stuff and then integrate different things around it, and later on build something which is kind of a graphical representation for others. Because I do remember people are visual learners, or some are just going through reading the stuff and everything. So definitely there are some areas of improvements over there where it could be a combination of multiple things where we can feed the code base into a visual graph. That way you can just go through each individual components and understand how they are linked with each other. If that helps everyone here or anyone who wants to understand more about these areas.
Add to Deep, from my experience about the documentation, I felt in general it does give a perspective on what Prow is as a whole, but it comes to picking up the internals of a component or like trying to understand one specific thing. Code is the only place which can help, but documentation is lacking a bit there. So if I'm setting up something and just a high level overview, but if I'm missing something, debugging that gets tricky because that's not mentioned anywhere in the documentation as such. So how do I proceed? Where do I proceed is always a question. I would rather choose to have it in the documentation than spend hours trying to go through the code or like plus Slack conversations or issues. So that's just been my experience with the doc so far I've explored.
Danilo?
Yeah, I totally agree with both of you guys. And the documentation is super important when it comes to understand things deeply. You have to look at the code. And if you want some example from my experience, we can tackle this issue of where to start from different angle. From my experience, this is something that I do every 6 months. This is on infra side of Prow. I try to bump the Golang version. So this is something that you can do in order to learn the overall structure of the Prow project. But it's not a big deal because in the end, you're not going to learn the internals of the components. On the other end, refactoring is something that will force you to learn the internals of a component that you choose, let's say Tide or Plank, without changing the behavior. I can give you some example. The controller runtime is one of the most important dependency that we have in Prow, and it keeps changing over the time. As far as I know, if I remember it correctly, we are not following the latest best practice that are coming from the controller runtime. One can decide to take one component, upgrade the controller runtime library, and then refactor in accordance to the latest practice of the controller runtime. And that's one thing. Another thing will be testing. Unit testing maybe is one easy place that you can start contributing to. Another example, Golang 1.24 is introducing the sync test package. Sync test package is a way to easily test concurrent and asynchronous code. Maybe we can start thinking about refactoring some unit tests to leverage those new features that the Golang runtime is offering. I mean, two concrete and practical example.
Okay, so these are fantastic domains. Like, so I just wonder what can we do to enable these like domains like to be approachable to someone who is new? Like, how do we would we set up, for example, some kind of template issues like or would we maintain some kind of documentation specifically targeting newcomers, like if you are new, like focus on these things? Daniel?
Yeah, when I started contributing to Prow 3 years ago, I remember that the GitHub backlog was in a good shape. I just could go there, filter by good first issue or whatever label that we had back then, and start choosing from that kind of issue subset. Is it still the case today? How is the shape of the GitHub backlog today?
I'm not sure. I manage I can judge it. I and other people, other people are trying to maintain like GitHub issues as it's coming, like triage it, and like if something looks easy enough, then like label it with a good first issue. We don't have that many. And like unfortunately, I think some people like sometimes we are wrong. Like sometimes we think this should be fairly straightforward, and then you run into some like interaction of this component with that component, and like that. Then the like whoever wants to contribute ends up like they can do it, but they would need like a little bit of help, like someone experienced guide them through the problem, through the complexity. And I think this is another like place where we are maybe lack some capacity. Like we don't have that many people who would have time to invest into this like coaching new like contributors like over the obstacles they hit.
I think there's some hands raised.
Yeah, go ahead, Deep.
So, like you mentioned, for newcomers, if someone there is no documentation or there are how we can coach people around, um, rather than creating the whole documentation around different areas, maybe we can start with a documentation of how you can start with Prow or what few things you can start with as an approach if you are new to this repository. That would be a nice place. And yes, your idea of templates is an interesting one where you can create pre-defined templates that if they are good for issues, use this kind of templates. If there are some important one, then someone accidentally create a wrong using wrong template, then we can migrate them to a newer one. We can maybe start with smaller approach one at a time, and that would bring in more people from different places. I believe, like Daniel mentioned, that the backlog right now would not be in a great shape, and that might be keeping people away from joining in or contributing more and more. um, to revive this whole stuff, we can do one step at a time, and yeah, that would be a good idea to begin with.
Amelia?
Just adding to that, I think I'm bringing in a new contributor perspective. So initially, when I started looking at the issues, there was only, I think, one good first issue which I picked up. So, and there are issues tagged as help wanted, which specify that this could be picked up, but few of them are intermediary to advanced. I would say they're not very friendly to pick up. So it gets a bit challenging. To share my perspective, I would say as maintainers, maybe like how Danilo mentioned that a few areas of scope that can be created as issues, maybe they could be created as issues and somebody could pick them up, and that will build their knowledge on Pro. And next, going further, they'll be comfortable to pick up something else as well. Like for example, the controller runtime example which Danilo gave as well. So probably a good place would be issues, more issues tagged with specific tags or labels or information that could be friendly for new contributors. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm super grateful for your insights from the point of like new contributor. It's like I think all of us others like have contributed a lot to Prow in the past, so we are kind of blind to many of the items. So I am super happy to have you here, and like feel free to like I don't even like raise your hand. Like feel free to like speak as much as you like. If you are wrong or something, I think like you are a little bit of like target audience for what we want to achieve here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking how to get there. Like because like I hear ideas and I have myself ideas about like what do we need. I'm just like a little bit lost about how to get there. So Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, another idea to help newcomers to understand how Prow works. All right, documentation is super important. But I remember we have a diagram somewhere upstream describing the interaction between the components. Is it still up to date? Because if it is not, it will be the case to improve it. Because most of the time when you're approaching a problem, if it's trivial, okay, you can look at your function that you want to change and that's it. But most of the time, the complexity comes from the interaction between the components. Maybe most of the time you are not even aware of what component type is interacting to. That's the real issue. If we can improve that kind of diagram or documentation, maybe a newcomer will feel just better addressing issues and introducing changes. That's my feeling.
So how to get there? So for documentation to be better, we need someone to contribute it. I will invest effort into Prow. I'm now like again in a team that's more that's closer to what Prow is and what does it serve. So it's part of my job again. But I will write documentation. I just like wonder how to scale this. And I was thinking about like if we were talking about the issue backlog and some of them are not being good, I just wonder like would it help if I were running like other projects are running something like a regular issue triage where we could look at the issues, maybe break them down, maybe rewrite descriptions so they are approachable to newcomers. Like that would get the like backlog in a little better shape if we had this. I can do it. I don't know if I have audience, but many people showed up today, so maybe I have audience. Like, would that make sense? I wonder.
Yes, Deep.
I would love to contribute to documentation because I created some of for myself while trying to understand. Wasn't sure if anyone was interested in a different aspect of it, but if anyone or everyone here is open to review those documents, I can pretty much open up PRs against those, and everyone can review and add their thoughts on top of it, because it would be always nice to just jump on something firsthand, because if everyone is asking, oh, we don't know who's going to contribute, then everyone would be in the same boat. So I'm happy to take that initiative. At least I can trigger something for others. And if everyone is okay or happy to review them and provide suggestions, guidelines in different areas, that would be interesting on top of that.
I can just say, bring it. I will definitely review and help it get merged. Like our docs are totally stale in some cases. So if you have contributions here, I will be so happy to review them. Abdul Rahman?
Yeah, thank you. So my contribution here. I'm a newcomer, right? And I was gonna message you concerning contributing to the project. So I think when I check the issues, most of them are nowhere described. So, I think if we have proper description of those issues, it might sound big, but better description might also make it more simpler and easier to approach, like you've mentioned. So, and also the documentation here is also very, very important. And as in, I am open to any way I can come in and support the team because I heard about the project and I kind of interested in contributing. Thank you.
Absolutely happy to have you. And also, like, same as with Anuya, like your insights as a newcomer, especially, like if you have insights about what's hard, like what have you tried and what was perhaps missing, we are very, like, we would like to hear them.
Okay, yeah, for the moment, I've not really tried anything. I'm just going through the repository just to get myself familiar with the code base. Although some of them are kind of tricky to understand, but yeah, I know with the documentation might also put more light into those areas that are tricky and hard to understand. Yeah. But I think the first part for me, I said, okay, let me go through the code base. And also, if I understand the code base and I start writing text as well, unit tests, it may also give me more insight to what is happening inside the project.
Yeah, that sounds great. Again, like I'm very happy to review them. And I agree, they are very good, very good ways how to get familiar with the code in a like bite-sized chunks. So I would totally recommend that. Hector?
Hi everyone. I saw in the beginning Danilo talk about the graphic interface, the user interface. I did some minor modifications, just a kind of feedback from where we put the mouse. It showed the line we are in. That affected some other areas. I saw sometimes the tables become distorted, but I saw that we use vanilla JavaScript. There is no kind of framework that can help this kind of stuff. Personally, I like Vue.js. And also, we use kind of material for the interface. I'm not a front-end developer, but I like JavaScript and work with HTML. And I think if someone give me a kind of green light, so okay, just try some kind of framework. I don't know if Pro it's a kind of Kubernetes Google project. If we have to stick with Material or an Angular, but I'm more than happy to contribute with that. Try to make the interface more not. I don't think we need a kind of beautiful interface. We just need a more useful one. I can do that. I'm not, as I say, I'm not a front-end developer, so I cannot think on stuff that make it more beautiful. But I can, of course, upgrade the code to get rid of the vanilla JavaScript. I like vanilla JavaScript, but it's a lot verbose. We have to write a lot of lines to update tables. It's a lot of get elements by ID here, there. If someone give me a green light, okay, you can test Vue.js. I think Vue is a good option because we can just use a CDN and it will work fine. We don't need to compile anything with npm or something like that. I can take a look. I even can use a new version of Material or stick with I think we use basic Material. I don't remember. It's a kind of a tiny version of Material. Or if we want to change, I don't know, use Patternfly from Red Hat or something like that. If someone gives me a green light, I can start to take a look at that because it's something that for me is easy to do. And I already did some minor contributions. So anyway, and I know that the interface is not the thing we should fix right now, but since I can work with that, I think it's something that we can take a look.
Yeah, briefly, I think that's a good idea. I will also say I don't think there's somebody else can speak if that happens to be wrong, but like at least as far as like Google and Prow, I don't think there's any like obligations or anything to remain on things like Material Light or like Angular or whatnot. I think it's more just a thing of like what makes sense for ensuring that the front end is like robust and easy to contribute to, or whatever goals are like highest priority for that. So yeah, definitely. Like obviously something that works well with our existing Go ecosystem is probably a good idea. But I'm not a front end developer either. I know there's a bunch of different options that have their own pros and cons. The only thing I was also going to mention as a slightly selfish thing is for test grid when we were doing the UI, we were trying to be fairly generic and we're sticking to like lit as a lightweight framework and web components for like making that portable. I don't think Prow's under any obligation to follow the same thing, but maybe just like a quick thing mentioning rationale for like why do we want Vue.js or something else would be helpful in the repo, I think. I also have a slight interest because like I'm interested in reviewing like Deck and Spyglass PRs. Again, just not a front end developer, so I'm a little bit nervous about things like security related possibilities.
Yeah, I'm on a similar boat. I think like in the past we like Proud like had like a front end person, like someone was usually the front end person who was driving some of the like bigger decisions and wrote the big pieces. And I don't think Proud currently have someone like being focused primarily on front end. So it's why I think that's why like some people, so some things look a little bit more outdated. I think like stuff like modernize the front end for like into like some of the more modern frameworks. That's I would probably I'm totally up for it. Like I'm totally up for it. Someone driving it. I would maybe like start this with more like a discussion about like what should we select? Do we want to like do everything at once, or do we start with one of the like easier UI stuff like that? I would incline like towards talking like about it for a while until we start doing the heavy lifting. But again, I'm also not a front end person, and I would love if Prow had someone who was a front end person and would want to drive this like domain forward into the more modern world. Okay,
If I'd
go
like
ahead.
to add a couple of points. So from as a new, it might be like I might sound like a broken record, but as a newcomer, right? So as in any community, my first go would be to look at the issues and pick up good first issue, and then as I improve familiarity, I then. But here, after, for example, if I complete this plugin issue, I would be a little confused on what next because Prow is a fantastic project and I see a lot of scope of growth or for us contributors to contribute and help the maintainers here. So I mean, I would try to understand any of your perspective on how do I navigate after the first issue, like what.
So I don't know if it was just me, but like the end of
No,
this.
everyone. You clipped a lot, Amulia. Yeah.
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand. Like, I'm not sure till where from where did you lose me, but after the first issue, I was just wondering what would be my next point. Like as a maintainer, I'm not. I mean, as a new contributor, I'm not sure of the scope of the project or where it is heading.
So that's actually a good question. I had the same question coming here, like for Petr, because I was contributing a lot like 8 years ago to Pro, and then I contributed more to Kubernetes, and now I've seen that things are becoming stale at Pro, so it's still a project that I love. So I wanted to come back, but I have no idea what's the current status. What which areas needs to be dusted off, and so.
Yeah, it's something that I think about a lot as well. I actually plan to submit a talk or more like a discussion for European KubeCon for Maintainers Summit, like specifically like what do we want from Prow? Because like I this goes beyond the like this session, but it's like like CI/CD tooling and development expert like process tooling evolved a lot from when Prow was born and many of its decisions were made. And like some of the thoughts that I have, like maybe we could use like maybe we would benefit from like reducing scope like towards like the really important parts, stuff like that. So I think the current like the scope of the project currently, I think the main thing is like supporting what Kubernetes needs, Kubernetes project needs. I think that's the primary things that expected of Pro right now. We have external deployments of Prow, and I think actually like most of the existing contributions that we still have are coming from the external deployments of Prow. So like I don't think we want to abandon them completely, but like with a reduced amount of like capacity that we can invest in the project, we need to be aware that, for example, extending the configuration surface of everything is something that we can like hardly sustain, like given our main like mission is to support Kubernetes. I personally like my personal like I would love if the project continued to be like the core of Kubernetes development, powered the Kubernetes like community. I would love if it was all also a project that powers like development elsewhere. Like we have one big deployment in OpenShift, and there are others. I would love if this was still a thing. If it was like more general. But I think like to get there, we may need to do some decisions about like maybe we need to focus on one part, maybe we need to improve some other domains, and maybe we need to like abandon some domains where other tooling maybe like does things better. And this needs a lot of debate, I think, with whoever like wants to contribute, like whoever is the contributor base. Like so I'd like to facilitate this process, and I overall I would like to do more of these. Like I would like to like Proud to be discussed more in SIG testing meetings. Maybe I will want to do contributor meetings for Prow more regularly. Like I have space, I have will, and as soon as people are coming, then like I'm very happy to do them. But I think currently I don't have a like specific certain idea of like what is the ideal result. And maybe like I'm interested in what your thoughts are. Like where do you think where we should go? What are the valuable parts of the project?
Yeah. Not sure, but I have the feeling that, like as you said, many parts could be replaced. Maybe GitHub Actions had a lot of improvements in the years, so maybe I mean the more we can delegate. I don't know. All the external deployments of Pro, they are on GitHub anyway. or they use other source control. No, there is nothing on Gerrit or nothing on maybe.
I
Michel,
think
you are at Google? No.
Yeah.
Who is at Google here?
I think Google had Gerrit like based Prow.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do. Yeah. So yeah, that's open for discussion, probably in SIG testing. And yeah, the top priority is making it easy to develop locally, to test and deploy, and because it's horrible today, as you said. So yeah, that was what I had in mind. And also, yeah, we have some pro plugins that are probably useless right now, so we could deprecate them. So
yeah, like if I extend this like discussion a little, like I think like a big value of Prow is tied and like automated merges. Like there are other development in like GitHub has a merge queue now, and there are other stuff. Mergify is one of them. Graphite has a merge robot. Like there are other things already, but like I think for what especially Kubernetes like needs, Tide is still very, very good. It's complex and it's a little bit hard to hack on, but it's one of the like really valuable pieces. One of the like valuable features there is the ability to retest, right? When the head of the base branch, when it wants to merge, like moves, like when the Tide is able to retest. And this is where like this is where the merge robot needs to be integrated, like to be able to trigger the test, like that needs to be triggered. Like this is still so I think there's still value in Prow being like the thing that has a notion of jobs that are required for merges, and that means like the like core Prow jobs still somehow need to be like there. I'm occasionally thinking about stuff like maybe Tecton is now like mature enough so it could be like doing the like to be the execution unit, like payload execution unit when we want to run stuff. Like that's maybe they are better now in what than what Prow job like bear itself. Like Prow job is basically just a like a annotated pod, right? So we depend on that, but it works for many things, and I think I don't see especially Kubernetes community coming with complaints about like that's enough. They would like more, but like we are seeing some asks from other people who want pipelines and who want like these complicated graphs of execution like steps. So like I feel like we should still have some jobs, but maybe we should like delegate the process of like defining what gets executed when, like to some other system. That could be at least a possibility. Maybe not something that everyone wants to do, but maybe we should allow that. But that's just like me having dreams right now.
Sounds a good idea. Yeah.
Deep, you have a hand up?
Just thought based on the previous usage and issues that you guys have seen over the past couple of years, any pain point area that comes to your head without trying to look into those areas, just something that pops up out of any one of your head? Maybe you can just throw an issue or something towards that this is the area we want to investigate. That could be a first hand issue as well for someone who wants to jump into Prow. Then they can, for newcomers, that will be interesting, like, okay, we want to investigate, so now they don't have to go into everything at the same time. They can just pick one small part of the code. They can look what it is right now, what improvements they can bring, or they can look from outside their scope. Think so. My idea is one head thinking an idea is less important than 10 heads thinking about one idea. So if we throw that out in the wild, we never know who can catch that and look into some ideas around it. That also provides less burden on maintainers who are right now, that which direction we want to go or what we want to investigate. Investigation is a part where everyone can jump in. They don't have to go through all the code. They have to just pick one small area, look into it, and then bring new stuff around it. And that's kind of a good way to bring in more contributors as well.
Yep. Okay, I'm a little lost. I appreciate this. I think I'm always like always. I'm just thinking how to get there. Like what is so if I put myself in the shoes of a like project lead or whatever, uh what can I do like to facilitate this, like to enable everyone to get in this state? I'm open to advice. I have some ideas of my own, but I what do people think like me to do to enable you to get to this desired state? So I think like I will bootstrap myself. So I know we need to invest into documentation, which means I will invest effort into writing issues that will probably both small and larger, that will describe some ideas that I have about what documentation should we have, what documentation is stale and should be updated, if maybe we need to restructure the documentation. So that in that way I see like if I describe issues for someone to pick up and do the work, that's something that I can do. For outside the documentation, there's like we need issues backlog, and there I think we really need to establish some kind of activity that leads to better descriptions, labeling, breaking down what is reported into something doable. So I'm thinking I will start doing something like a regular like issues processing, like backlog refinement or something like that. Maybe people will start attending, maybe it leads somewhere, maybe it doesn't, like, but I can start doing that. Are there other activities that I could do to enable people?
Would it be helpful to have more Prow specific calls? SIG testing is there, but do you think it makes sense to have Prow specific calls, considering the interest and also the people who can help here and as get mentorship as well? Like, would it
I think yes.
make sense? Maybe bi-weekly or so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I think yes. I think the content should probably like be split. Maybe we need Prow specific calls, but I don't think we need that many of them. Maybe I think we also need Prow to be a topic of SIG testing more often, and that would
Yes.
feed the Prow specific thing.
Yes. I don't know how it is now, if the SIG testing is like very busy or not, but yeah, I think we should definitely
Not
show up like
tremendously.
yeah, exactly. So and but it's good to have the input of everybody at SIG testing, so that you can feel that now there is like again some traction, and maybe folks there have some ideas as well, because they are more the customers of Prow.
Absolutely. yeah, I was not able to attend SIG testing meeting in the past because of time and specific day, and that's no longer true. And I plan to attend and bring Prow topics. And I agree, like, let's use the momentum. We met today, and I plan to attend SIG testing next week and plan to set up something at least the issue refinement session, maybe the week after, something like that. I'll bring this to Slack. I don't have specific time and date yet, but that's something I will do. And then my current thinking is let's see where this goes. Like I'm usually not the people who lays out strategies for half a year in advance. We met today and we actually had an awesome, very productive, very detailed discussion, which I think means there are people interested and there are people having ideas. So maybe we just need to get things moving and things get better. Okay. That brings, we are getting to the top of the hour. So my takeover is I will show up on SIG testing. I will plan an issue refinement meeting, and I will start spawning documentation issues for Prow. And if someone wants to spawn documentation issues as well, that would be helpful. Several people mentioned they will be coming up with contributions, both for documentation and maybe UI. That's also, I will be happy to see them, which means, to me, this was a very productive and very useful call.
Yeah, and count on me so that you don't feel too lonely.
Yeah, I see you approving and reviewing PRs all the time. So
but it's like blindly. So like if we get used to more sync, it will be more useful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we will set up occasions and opportunities.
Yeah.
So we will see each other more often with everyone, I guess.
Yes. Cool.
So that's it from me. Anyone has other closing thoughts?
Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, and thanks
thank you
for
very
everyone
much
for attending.
Yeah, thanks a lot for setting this up. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. So have a great day. And
Thanks.
see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Slack. Bye.
See y'all.